what's up everybody? It's your boy Cam. Today is going to be an interesting one. This is the first video of a new segment we call Ride Along, where we ride along with some of the industry's most talented that most may not know of. So a lot of people focus on owners. We want to focus more on reps that are making it happen out in the marketplace. So today we're riding along with a good friend of mine, an awesome killer on the commercial and residential game, Tyler Stevens. Thank you for being my first guest, my brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing this.
Oh man, I'm so excited and nervous at the same time. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna ride around here. We're here in Dallas, Texas. We're gonna ride along with Tyler, and we're gonna just get to know Tyler, get some of his insights with the industry, and then we can start off just first. Tyler, tell a little bit to everyone about who you are, how long you've been in the industry, and who you're currently working with, things like that.
Yeah, so right now I'm currently working with Nimble Restoration Services. Mike and Shannon Iman, those are the owners. Very, very good people. Highly encourage anyone that's looking for a change or anything like that. Surround yourself with some killers and some people that are just genuinely down to earth and good people, and that's what they are. And as far as how long I've been in the industry, man, I got introduced to it just to door knocking.
Yep.
Didn't even know what felt paper was, but my senior year of high school, I was just trying to earn some extra money, man. I played baseball, and back then, obviously, my mindset was I thought I was just gonna be baseball for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I started knocking doors, and I've always been super competitive. It didn't matter what I did, right? Like, it could be throwing, if me and you were like, hey man, let's see who can make the most sunflower seeds in this cup. I want to try and beat you. And so that's what really intrigued me into door knocking, and that's how I started in Houston, Texas, because that's where I'm originally from. And out there, they don't get a ton of hailstorms. So when they do, it's not like your huge hail damage where it's like you get up there and you just it's beat, right? You know it's gonna be hot. It's little stuff. So I'm getting up there, and I had a family member kind of show me the ropes. But I was going home at night like Googling and YouTubing like, what does hail damage look like, and what is legitimate hail damage, what's wear and tear, what's granule loss. And this is in high school. My friends, I played baseball in high school and in college, and while I was in high school, my friends are like, what? Wait, so you're going and knocking doors? You're one of those dudes? My parents hate those guys. They come knock on our doors. I'm like, yeah, man, that's me. So earning some extra money, man. I didn't take it as serious as I probably should have, because I could have really, really killed it. I had some advantages. But yeah, man, that's how I got started. And then I learned how to install TPO. And so that's what I got introduced to the commercial game very early.
Right. Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize, when I first got into the industry, that there really is a little bit of a difference between residential and commercial. And the way that was explained to me was, you can use residential to like pay your bills, but then go after commercial for those huge paydays. How do you feel about that?
Man, just no, you nailed it on the head. Like, in other terms, residential is your bread and butter. And then commercial's the long game, right? Like you can, you and I mean, while we're driving right now, we can go find something that's probably got damage. We're here in Frisco. Ton of damage out here, old damage to be exact. But I mean, you could go knock on a door of someone you don't even know, and within a week get an adjusters meeting and then close the deal, and then you're building a roof that month. Versus commercial, it's nothing like that.
It's very long play.
And I would say commercial too, I've learned, because I'm still young, I don't know it all by any means. I've learned from a lot of people in our industry just by reaching out. I'm always reaching out, trying to learn new things. But commercial is huge on the relationship building side. Like, it's mainly relationships, man. Like, you got to nurture those relationships. And, if you do that, your chances of getting those big commercial projects, they're going to come to you if you've nurtured that relationship right.
Absolutely. And I think from what I know with the commercial game is that you have to, like, personality wise, you have to really know your stuff versus like residential, you can get by, but you also can't get away with lying. When you say you're going to do something, you have to do it because they're your business owners that you're dealing with, so they're used to that certain level.
And some of those business owners, man, some of them know their stuff, like on the construction side, right? Because I've ran into a few that, like a guy that owns a few hotels out in West Texas.
Yep.
He GCs his own hotels, like he builds his own hotels.
Yep.
And, you know, when I was on the phone with him talking, he knew his stuff.
Right.
And if you do know your stuff, you'll really value that because, you know, you sometimes get people that have no idea what you're talking about and they misinterpret it, you know? And so it's like, you know, these guys that do know their stuff, if you know your stuff, they're going to know. They're like, okay, he knows what he's talking about, and they can kind of relate to it, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, and if you don't know what you're talking about and you try to act like you do, you're in trouble. You're like better off saying like you don't know, but you'll find out the answer because
that's the most honest thing to do.
You have to with commercial people. So for people that are watching that maybe just not getting in the industry, I know I was introduced to the industry through a friend, and it seems like you were too, kind of like someone that you knew introduced you to it.
Yeah.
What is like one tip that you would have for someone just starting out?
Yeah, so don't give up. Yep. You know, when I was giving, which my best friend, he played for the Detroit Tigers.
Yep.
And so he knows how to be really dedicated to something, right?
Yep.
And you know, I told him, I was like, man, look, I'll tell you straight up, right? Because you're a lot like I am. Yep. You're either going to come into this industry and like tough through the beginning and change your life, or you're just going to give up and quit. Yeah. I was like, you know, there's not really like a happy medium. I mean, at least from, you know, my experiences. Yep. So that's what I told him. I was like, you know, you're either going to change your life or you're going to end up quitting and being like, you know, this ain't for me.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because I know for me, when I got into the industry, I was living here in Texas, and a friend of mine was doing the insurance restoration deal out in Georgia, and I was in between opportunities. So I was looking for something, so I actually flew out to Georgia, tested it out for 7 days, sold some deals, realized how simple it was, and I flew back to Dallas, packed my family up, and then we moved to Virginia to work a storm in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And like for the first 90 days, I probably made like $200-300 a week, or like on a draw a lot of the times. And we were like living in motel to motel. So it was like a real struggle for that first 90 days. And then boom, $4,000 a week, $5,000 a week. So it's very true. Like you have to, I always tell people all the time, you stick and stay and you get your pay.
Yeah.
So for you, you know, what was that timeline for you whenever you first got in the industry, before you actually like was able to start actually making some that industry money, as they call it?
Man, I would say to actually start making like really, really good money.
Yep.
It wasn't until, you know, I had people around me, right? Whatever company I sold with, like when I first came into the industry, I sold for a company out of Houston, who is now a huge company, called Remedy Roofing. Yep. Great company. But I had people to kind of do the project management side and like teach me, so I'd sell the deal. Yep. And then, you know, any supplements or paperwork or invoices that need to be submitted, scheduling trades, things like that. Yep. They would do it, but I made sure, and this is a key point for everyone watching, if you're getting into the industry, make sure that like whoever's mentoring you, if they're scheduling trades out for you or whatever, try to be by their side the whole entire time, because you know, you start making really good money when you become self-sufficient. Yes. And typically, so depending on the company, their pay structure can sometimes be based on your sufficiency. Yeah. And so essentially, you know, the more self-sufficient you are, you know, the higher a percentage of pay that you can get. So just depending on the company, though.
Yes, that is very true. Yeah, I know for us, it was like the check for check type of thing, where I was a little more hands off, but
the draws, man.
The draws. Yes.
So I thought, so when I started out, I was like, you know, okay, well, you know, I turn the check in, I'll be good. Yeah. And you know, you got to do what you got to do to, you know, get your bills paid, whatever. Yes. But what changed my whole mindset on draws was I sold a big job, and I think there was 3 checks throughout the project, and I took a draw on each one, and then it came time the job closed out, and I was going to get paid my full commission, and I'm like, oh, what? I'm like, they're like, yeah, because the draws, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, all right. So from there on out, I was like, okay, I'm going to do anything I can to stay away from draws.
Yes.
So
I think that's a really good point. I think financial literacy is something that definitely is lacking in the industry because there is a lot of money to be made. A lot of people spend it as soon as they get it and not really think about, you know, it may not be the same way next month or 2 months from now, but being able to, you know, get a huge check and then you ration that check out because you never know what's going to happen.
And I got like a rule of thumb, like bringing new guys on. I tell them, like, everyone on my team that was new coming on, I told them, your first 5 to 6 jobs, live like you're broke. Your first 5 to 6 jobs, like I told them, like, when I was younger and I figured it out, I would sandbag so bad. I have no money. I feel like what I'm good at is not leaving anything on the table. So even if it means I've done a deal, like, I'll follow up with people, just check in and be like, hey, hope all is well. Because I want to have repeat customers. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to have repeat customers. Oh God, we got an angry soccer mom behind us.
Hurry up and go. Turn and get out the way. No, it's true. There's something to take away from Chick-fil-A. I think from the customer service to how they hire, to how they have their systems in place, where I think it can bring a lot of benefits.
Systems, man. Like, that's a good topic, right? Like, systems. That goes back to new guys, right? Like, your new guys are gonna last a lot longer if you have the right systems in place. Like, if you're just kind of winging it, like, these guys, I mean, they probably got families at home, and if they're not, you know, if they can't get a clear vision of like what the process is and when to expect to possibly land a project or whatever, if there's no system in place, like, those guys probably won't stick around very long.
No,
and I've learned that from experience, personal experience. You know, starting out, just kind of winging it, like, you know, we're gonna go out and this is what we're gonna do. You know, you have a process as you go, but you need something set in stone that you know every single person is gonna follow that same process when they come out.
100%. I like to look at, because I have a network marketing background, so I like to look how network marketing does it, and they are the best at recruiting and scaling people. Like, it's the only system that I know that gets people to pay them to pay the company themselves for you to sell for me. So for you to sell for me, I need you to buy in, and then they put you through this whole system in place to where you can make a little bit of money, but it's not a whole lot usually until you've like worked the system. But they have a system in place on how they do things exactly in each market, and I think that's why they're able to scale. So that's for sure a thing that's missing in the industry, because I tell companies all the time is like having a system in place, because I know when I got started, they paired me with a sales manager. We went out into the field. He showed me a couple of things, and then I was like on my own. So I might have a completely different experience than the next rep. You know what I mean? So there's no system in place where we're getting the same amount of the same type of onboarding. And that hurts big.
And it just confuses people too, right? Like, and then you get egos, right? Like in our industry, like, egos are a huge deal. That's something I've learned to just put aside. You know, thankfully I learned it early on. But you know, the egos get involved, and then they're, you know, oh, you got, this guy's getting special treatment, this guy's getting, and it's like, you know, so you try to exclude all of that and just, you know, do it the right way and have your process streamlined across the board.
Absolutely. So looking forward, because I know like this year has been like a transition year from you, and you're working on some pretty big things, and I just saw that post recently from Nimble and Mike with that job that you have going out in Dallas, which looked like a complete restoration job of a restaurant. And So you have that going, and then you're building the team. So like, what's on the horizon for you right now?
Man, so that project, that was a Argentinian steakhouse.
Yes.
Very
nice
good.
yeah.
It's called Corinthos 348,
yes.
downtown Dallas. You guys need to go try it. It's
yes.
very good.
Yes.
But that was actually a water mitigation claim. Yeah, and so,
yes.
and I haven't been doing that for very long.
Yep.
I just got into it probably the same time a lot of you guys that are watching did.
Yep. From the freeze.
Got into it.
Yep.
Had so many clients reach out, insurance agents, all this stuff. And so that's when we decided, you know, as a company, to go ahead and get IICRC certified.
Yep.
You know, learn everything the right way, how to dry everything out the right way.
Yep.
And I'm glad we did, because it opened up a lot of, you know, potential, you know, a lot bigger potential deals
yes.
that we more than likely would have passed up if we would have never gotten into it.
Yes.
But that being said, you know, I got a large hotel firm who is you know, becoming a very good client of mine. Those people at the steakhouse,
yep.
they actually, you know, go to find out, they own, I think 17 properties in DFW commercial. And so they asked me to go out to all of their properties and inspect them. And then what I did is I got them under a maintenance contract, and now I'm taking care of all their properties for them. And then we got some more, you know, like with the hotel firm.
Yep.
Those guys are starting to reach out and send us quite a bit of business. It's
yes.
some little stuff here and there,
yes.
but you know, it's not like every single one of their properties has storm damage.
Right.
So again, back to building the relationship. But and then managing a team, building a team.
Yeah.
You know, I'll proudly say
yep.
that this year I sacrificed quite a bit of my personal production
yep. mm-hmm.
and focused on my team and making sure that they're successful.
Yep.
As a company, we were, you know, getting processes into place.
Yep.
And you know, at the beginning, you know, you're gonna be like, oh man, I'm sacrificing
it's
this.
hard.
And it's tough in the beginning, but now we're creeping up on the new year.
Yep.
I'm so thankful that I did that because I gained, you know, a new interest in just wanting to see guys succeed and helping other people succeed.
Yes.
Which essentially led to me being more successful as well.
Yes.
And you know, I really enjoy building a team and managing guys and, you know, being whatever it is I need to be for them, right? Like, you know, I'll have a guy, you know, on my team call up one day and, you know, you can tell he needs some motivation, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't think we're, you know, motivated every single day. I don't think any of us are.
100%.
But, you know, they'll call up and need whatever it is, and it's my job to make sure that one, their head is in the right spot, like that they got the right mindset going into it.
Yep.
But more so, you know, if they got a deal and they need help closing it, like I'm gonna help them close that deal.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And then seeing the end result of, you know, they got the project closed out and it was seamless. They didn't have any, you know, a bunch of issues along the way.
Yes.
And then they get paid and they're like, okay, they're like, I want to go sell more. I want to go sell more.
That belief check.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nah, that is very true. And I think that's a good point, because I've told this to a couple of guys that I've brought into the industry and just talked to over the years, is not staying in that position. Like when I first got into the industry, I noticed that the sales managers or people that were managing teams were making good money, like $10,000 weeks, $8,000 weeks, but they weren't on the doors per se.
Right.
And I always heard it as, you know, get out the doors as fast as you can. And what that means is like get to a point to where you're sufficient and you know the job to where you can now manage teams. But there's a lot of people that stick on the doors and they don't make that transition, because it's a harder one. Because I know when I did, like, you know, that next 30, 45 days, 60 days, it, you know, like you're saying, like that, your personal sales go out the door. So you don't have those checks coming in, so it takes time to build it up. But when you make that transition, it not only teaches you some things, but it also allows you to help others. So
and then those guys, you know, those guys get self-sufficient. We got, like, my team is at a point right now where we we have a guy, Devin, Mike and Shannon's son, who is on my team.
Yep.
He now is like leading a door knocking team, right?
Yes.
So he's focusing on door knocking, and like my team, when they go out and door knock, like of course I go.
Yep.
But he's gonna lead the pack knocking doors,
Yes.
and you know I'll go out and go knock doors too,
Yep.
because I still love doing it.
Yes.
But you know, he's there, and so once they become more self-sufficient, like you're able to break off a little bit
Yep.
and start focusing more on your personal stuff.
Yes.
So, but until then, it's just grind mode.
Yep.
Like you're trying to balance both. Like you're worrying about them, but you're also worrying about you.
Yes.
And you know, it's just you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot of your party time, or going to the clubs at night or whatever. Like I'm 25, and a lot of my friends, you know, are going out, partying, whatever, which, you know, I'm always up for, but you know, I got stuff to take care of first. So and it's more important to me. And so yeah, you're gonna have to sacrifice quite a bit whenever you start building a team.
I think that's a big point. So a good question I have, because you have a lot going on. You're engaged, you're planning for a wedding, you've got commercial, you've got residential, you got your own stuff, you're building a team,
and
so
then the other stuff too. The Roof Hawk.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and you got Roof Hawk, which we'll talk about for sure. So how does Tyler manage that? Because you also work out, you know, constantly on a regular basis. So like, you know, how does that time management work for you? How do you get all that stuff accomplished?
Man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll say, I mean, you said working out.
Yep.
You know, some people are like, I don't have time to work out, but for me, you know, I had a rough upbringing as a child. You know, little rough patches and stuff, which I'm sure there's many people that have too. But during that process, it was baseball and fitness that really was my, you know, therapy, I guess you would say. And now, I mean, it is still my therapy, because I have, if I don't go to the gym, then the rest of my day, it's like, it feels like I'm missing a part of my day. You know what I mean? And so the gym gets me motivated to get out, go get it, but not just go out and go get it, doing it with motivation and with a good attitude. And yeah, so as far as managing my time, man, it's just sacrificing all your personal stuff, man. I mean, you know, like going out and planning a bunch of vacations, like that's at this time, it's not possible. I mean, I say that, but I'm leaving to San Antonio today, and I got a project going on tomorrow. I won't be here, but I have a team member, who's gonna supervise it, and you know, I'm super thankful for people like that, man.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think basically some of what you just said is just choices, right? So, like you can choose to watch TV, or you can wake up that extra hour before and work out. So like, there's no excuses. It's just choices, which I hear from you. Which, you know, going back to what you're talking about, where we kind of started to grow our relationship with this company Roof Hawk, which I think is an amazing company and what they're doing for the industry. Because I know when I first saw it, I was like, this is exactly what has been missing, you know.
And starting out, man, like, it was because you know, you got Ryan and Craig, and both of those dudes are just, you know,
phenomenal,
super genuine guys, just good people.
100%.
And they really have a goal for you guys to sell more deals because of the software. Luckily, you know, I'm super thankful that I was able to, you know, help develop the software. You know, we got on a phone call. I remember one day, you know, Craig called me and was like, hey man, you know, what do you think about, you know, this idea? And it was, you know, something similar to, he was like something about he was like a software that could help roofers while on the roof, you know, identifying damage or whatever. And I'm like, that would be awesome. I was like, I know of one, but you know, I don't know if it's that great. And so, you know, I was like, all right, let's get on a call. You, me, Ryan, and Ryan is the AI scientist. That guy is the, you know, the brains behind the software, right? And you know, we get on a call, and I'm thinking, you know, okay, we're gonna have like a 30-minute, maybe an hour call. We're on the phone for 3.5 hours, and I'm like, I was supposed to you know, I was supposed to get on a call,
Yeah.
and I was like texting. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make the call.
Yeah.
And, you know, 3.5 hours go by, and that phone call, I mean, that phone call is essentially what brought, you know, RoofHawk to life, you know, like the idea of RoofHawk. And then from there, those two guys, Craig and Ryan, I mean, they just went to work, man.
Yeah.
They went to work. And when I say went to work, I mean, I remember 10 o'clock at night, you know, I would try and call Ryan because, you know, I'm trying to wind down or I'm chilling out. Try to call Ryan and maybe ask him a question about something, whatever. And he's like, hey, man, I'm at the data center right now. I got maybe a few more hours left. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. He's at the data center. He's putting in work. He's putting in some work. So,
a lot.
I mean, though they, you know, I and them like really believe in this software, man, and it's going to be something great. There's been great feedback on it.
A lot of great
the
feedback.
accuracy of it, I have been super impressed with. So, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is because what stands out to me about the product itself, and for those who don't know what RoofHawk is an AI technology that detects hail damage on roofs, on residential roofs more specifically. And the thing that does it for me
And they are
is,
moving into TPO eventually.
which that's gonna be crazy. I know a lot of commercial contractors that's gonna love that, because for me it's not only the safety factor, but it's the time factor. So I know when I was first starting out, they called me Spider-Man on the roof because number one, getting on the roof is already dangerous as it is, but it takes so much time. And it's usually for deals when you're doing the initial inspection that you don't have yet. You haven't been paid to get up there. So you're spending your time inspecting this roof, and you might not even get the deal where you can just take 10 minutes, fly the drone up, take pictures, have it, analyze it, show the homeowner like, hey, you do have damage, let's get it filed. Then later on you can get on the roof. I think that's for me, that's the biggest selling point, is like, stop wasting your time. Then on top of that, then you got the recruiting factor, where now you don't have to have sales reps get on the roof to sell the job. You can have more systematic inspecting this roof, inspecting this roof, inspecting this roof as we're going through this neighborhood, and no one's having to get on this roof. So I think it's those two things that's just huge for me when it comes to that technology. As we're driving through this neighborhood, I know that you've done a really good job of what I like to call like a neighborhood takeover type of thing. When it comes to coming into these type of neighborhoods, like what is your main attack? Like, how do you go about getting the jobs? How do you go about taking over the neighborhood? 'Cause I know like that when you get like 20 plus jobs in one neighborhood.
I would say, I mean, personally, like whether it's residential or commercial, I try to hit every angle that there is. Right? So, you know, you got guys out there knocking doors. You got, you know, marketing. You got Kim over here running ads. You know, we hit a testimonial video in that neighborhood as well. Hit them with that. You know, you got the mail letters. And then I'll ask every homeowner, whether it's a team member, and I tell everyone on my team the same thing. Ask them to post if they got a neighborhood Facebook page, a neighborhood, you know, page, whatever.
Nextdoor app.
Yeah, Nextdoor app. Get them to post something good about you with your business card in there.
That's really good.
And that's another angle to work as well. And I try to do every single one of those. Like I try not to leave any of those out. You know, that, and then, you know, if they have an HOA, you know, some HOAs get strict about shingle colors and fence stain and all that stuff, right? Well, whoever they're having to submit that to, whoever the you know, person in charge is, find out who that is, and build a good relationship with them. Because there's a chance that they probably live in that neighborhood and know a lot of people. If they're on the board, there's a chance they know a lot of people.
That's so true. I remember when I was selling in Florida, I worked one neighborhood as well, and how I got majority of the jobs is, I don't know if they do it here, I'm assuming they do, but they had the annual HOA meetings, and specifically on the ones where they're doing voting for the new positions. Whenever they're counting votes, they usually leave that time for vendors to come in and do their pitch. So usually security companies, landscaping companies, But somehow, some way, we were able to get this meeting. It was due to Dale Childress at the time. He got us this meeting, and I went up and I just did a pitch on storm damage on their roofs and showed them 2 pictures. One that it looked like just their roof, where it didn't look like it was damaged, and then a second photo showing like the little indications that it might be damaged.
Right.
I got like 25 appointments that night and just took over that neighborhood. So it's like, yeah, HOAs is a big one. But I think the biggest thing is just not sticking to one thing. It's just having all, just like with income, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, having the different streams of income. You should have that same thing with your leads and your jobs, is getting them from these different sources. Yeah,
hit it from every angle. I mean, and like, same with commercial, right? Like, you're not just gonna, you're not just gonna go only business to business. Like, you should be going business to, like, knocking businesses. You should be cold calling. Going to networking events and building those relationships. Calling property managers, building relationships with them. Getting on vendors lists. Get on LinkedIn and look up people that own commercial properties or manage properties. Try and meet them for coffee. Build the relationships there. Like, every single angle, just hit every single angle.
It's literally it. It's just like my good friend Ben says, it's just massive activity. That's all it is. It's just massive activity.
Man. Massive activity.
Just making those deposits into the marketplace will get you there. And I think that's a real big component. Just the time invested, just stick it, like I like to say, stick and stay and get your pay, and just massive activity. Those 2 things together, you can't go wrong in this industry. So I think one of the last things that I wanted to talk to you about on this ride along is money. So there's a lot of money made within this industry. I think more people are starting to realize it now. Like, obviously people see the trucks, they see
your
vacations.
taxes on that money you're making over there, guys. Come on.
Exactly, because it's totally different, especially for the companies that are doing it right. They usually pay an LLC and not the person individually. Some companies are starting to do the W-2 thing, but for majority it's 1099. So you're getting paid to an LLC, usually not to yourself personally. So definitely see a CPA for your taxes. And then not only that, but I think a lot of reps, like they'll get the $5,000 check or $10,000 check, whatever it is, and they spend it on dumb things, whether it's on a vacation or a certain amount of jewelry
or a big stupid truck, like everyone
that's
has in our industry, including myself.
Usually that first thing. And I think people don't realize that money can be going towards something else that could pay for that truck or that vacation. And I think there's certain people in the industry that are doing that, and I think you're starting to do that yourself. So what's your tips when it comes to what to do with those high commissions? Yeah,
man, I mean, essentially, like, what we're doing is exchanging time for money. And you don't want to do that, like that big truck that you want. Like, figure out a way to invest it and let that investment pay for that truck. Like, don't pay for that truck with the time that you put in. Right? And so but some things I just recently started getting pretty educated on investing in the multifamily. And hopefully pretty soon I'll make my first investment. And I'm still educating myself on it. But that'll be coming up very soon. And it's a goal of mine. And it's not easy, that's for sure. But there's a lot to learn. And it just came from the reason that it even came to my mind to want to do that is because I reached out to somebody who was in multifamily investing. And I had reached out to him, and then like 6 months later, I was going to an event in Miami. It was like some kind of, it was like a networking event, like a mastermind type of thing. And it was on marketing. Social media marketing, stuff like that. And so he was there. And I was like, hey man, he was like, oh crap, it's you. Like, we've talked, And so we get to talking, man, and ever since Miami, I have kept in touch with him, and I will literally get on a call with him every week. And I'll think of new questions to ask. Like, I'm doing my research and educating and watching all these trainings and stuff, but like I'll get one question for him or one topic that I want to ask about each week, and I'll call him and pick his brain on it. And so dude, if there's anyone in the industry that's wanting to get into like investing into anything, doesn't matter what it is. Like, say you want to, get an exotic car and turn, the liability into an asset and start renting it out. Like, reach out to someone who is doing that currently and figure out how they're doing it.
Yes.
And sometimes you gotta pay the price. But I'm a strong believer that I don't like putting a price on my personal development and my education. So, that's something that I would recommend, man, is just, finding something that you would maybe want to do and reach out to somebody who's doing it and pick their brain as much as you can. Be a sponge. Even in roofing, like there's so many great guys in our industry that are very knowledgeable. You hear about all the bad stuff, but there's so many great guys in our industry that you can literally call them up and start asking them questions, and they'll sit there and talk to you.
100%.
And I mean, that is free. Like, that's free education. 100%. People pay thousands of dollars to go to college, and you're getting this. You basically become a sponge and soak up all that knowledge and turn it into something.
That's so true. Because I think those individuals understand that there's no scarcity. There's enough for everyone to go around. But not only that, but as you make the competition or someone else that's not necessarily directly affected by your activity, it makes everyone better. And if everyone's better, it makes our jobs a lot easier. Where we're not having to have this stigma of contractors taking advantage of homeowners or homeowners taking advantage of contractors, where it gives it that clear playing field for everyone. So I think that is genius and 100% correct. And I know there's, back to the money thing, I know for a fact whenever I was selling, that if I can go back, as soon as we started making money, I remember we upgraded our apartment. We went from paying $1,500 in rent to $3,000, just increasing overhead. Spending money on expensive dinners every night. It just, the money we're just, I like to call, and I tell my team all the time, it's just being broke at a high level.
Right.
You can't increase your expenses and your income at the same time. You're just in the same place. And going back, I would have invested in things, whether it's little things like the car or multifamily, just anything to where you're getting that cash flow. So
and I think it's similar to, I tell a lot of people this, man. Like, if you're gonna get in this industry and take it and run with it, it's like owning your own business inside of a business.
Exactly.
And so, like, when it comes to your spending or your money, treat it like it's a business, man. And what I mean by that is, like, a company, that has a ton of overhead but is making X amount of dollars. They're eventually going to run out of money soon.
It's going to be very hard. It's hard to keep that.
You got to maintain that overhead. And so, like, you as an individual, if you keep accumulating a bunch of overhead, I mean, you could kill it one month, but then you got that overhead you got to pay. So it's like, live below your means for quite a while and just grind it out.
100%. Yeah, man, that's so true. So you definitely brought a lot of value today, and I think this was a really great start, and I appreciate your input.
Numero uno, man.
Yeah, numero uno. Can't take that. There will be never another number one. So just wrapping up, how can people get in contact with you, whether they want to reach out for advice, consulting, they want to, how can people reach out to you?
My cell number is 972-363-3463. So hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt, but it's all right. And just know, I mean, even if you reach out, I just know that there's probably a piece of knowledge that I could gain from talking to you as well.
Exactly.
And if there's anything to take from this video, I would probably say take a piece of knowledge from every single thing that you do and every person that you meet. And I think you'll be in a good spot.
There it is. Man, well, my man Tyler, thank you so much.
Dude,
this was great.
Thanks for having me.
I can't wait for everyone else to see it. If you're watching this video and you have any questions below for Tyler, go ahead and put them in. And thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, y'all have a good one.